Okay, one more last trig equation where we have a period other than 2 pi. This is the kind of problem we want to be careful. Make sure that you add or subtract 2 pi. Most of the problems we see really only need to add 2 pi. But if you have a negative large angle here, since we'll be adding, ultimately at the ending, we'll be adding a very large angle. That'll make a big shift in our answers. So therefore, this is the really only time you're going to need to subtract 2 pi is if this is a very large negative value, negative large angle. And then you're going to want to be careful of that. So let's just start off with the basics. One is sine equal negative radical 3 over 2. That'd be in the third and fourth quadrant. So that means our other side is 2 theta minus 5 pi over 6 equals, that would be at 7 pi over 6 and 11 pi over 6. And I'm going to add 2 pi to these. So that would be 12, so that's 19 over 6 pi, 23 over 6 pi, and I'm also going to, that's a weird one. And I'm also going to subtract 2 pi because this is a very large negative angle, and I'm going to add, and it'll shift all my answers to the right. So subtracting this from 12 would give me negative 5 pi over 6, and subtracting 12 from that would give me negative pi over 6. So I now have 2 theta minus 5 pi over 6 equals 7 pi over 6, 11 pi over 6, 19 pi over 6, 23 over 6 pi, and finally negative 5 pi over 6 and negative pi over 6. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add 5 pi over 6 to these 2, 4, 6 answers. So adding 5 pi over 6 gives me 12 pi over 6, 16 over 6 pi, 24 over 6 pi, 28 over 6 pi, 0, because 5 pi over 6 and negative 5 pi over 6 is 0, and negative pi over 6 and pi over 6 is 4 pi 6. So I'll simplify these answers. Before I divide by 2, I get 2 pi, 8 thirds pi, 4 pi, 14 thirds pi, 0, and this is 2 pi thirds. Is that right? 2, 4, yep. So now I'm left with 2 theta equals these 6 answers, so I divide them all by 2, so I get pi, 4 pi thirds, 2 pi, 7 thirds pi, 0, and this should have been 2 thirds. So I divide 2 thirds by 2, and I get pi over 3. Okay, last thing I'm going to do is make sure all these answers are between the interval 0 and 2 pi. So pi is good, 4 pi thirds is good, 2 pi is too big, it's right on the outside, 7 pi thirds, that's 7 pi thirds is too big, 0 and pi thirds. So here are my 4 answers. So again, the only time, so notice that we added this 5 pi over 6, added 5 pi over 6 to these 2 negative angles, added to all of them, but essentially added these 2 negative angles, and it moved them right. Move them back in between 0 and 2 pi. So the only time you really want to make sure that you subtract 2 pi, like I did right here, is when this angle here is a very large negative answer because of the whole shifting your negative angles to the right.